Fullmetal Alchemist. Hey, how's it going and welcome to another video. So I was in the mood to do another one of these tier lists and I put it up to a vote on Twitter. It was either between Fullmetal Alchemist, obviously, or Code Geass, and Fullmetal Alchemist took it. So here we are. FMA is like a very beloved series of mine. It's the only manga series where I currently own the entire thing. So this video does contain spoilers for the entirety of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly suggest you watch it. Very, very fucking good television program. Or read the manga, that's also an option. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's get into it. Who to start with? Shou Tucker, my favorite character. So I love Shou Tucker. No, yeah, Shou Tucker's really bad. I think the most heinous thing this fucker did was inspire, like, God, at this point, when you count the 2003 anime, 15, 16 years of people making the same fucking joke with Nina and Alexander. People have been trying to make a haha funny, these two fuse for, like, the better part of, like, almost 2 decades at this point. I'm surprised there's never been a wave of, like, is Shou Tucker that bad? Now that would be a fucking video, is like a in defense of Shou Tucker. I can just imagine, like, some furry avatar doing the arms crossed pose, like, with fucking Shou Tucker in the background, in defense of Shou Tucker. But yeah, he's really bad. Not even, like, a funny character. He's not really a particularly enjoyable villain. Like, he's not fun the way that, say, I don't know, like, Envy is. So he's kind of just a shit. On that note, I'll put a couple of Greed's, Chimera friends up here, because I feel about the same about all of them. Oh yeah, Martel. Kind of want to put Martel in B. Yeah, these guys are fine. I think they mostly serve the function of getting killed. Like, they're kind of character development fodder for Greed, but they're alright for what they are. I like the little bit where, fuck, what's this guy's name? Dolcetto? Yeah, he's Dolcetto. The cow guy is Roa. That's Martel, and this is Beto. Yeah, I like the little gag where Greed is like, yeah, Dolcetto pisses by lifting his leg. Other than that, they're fine. Like, I feel like there's some interesting stuff we could have learned about these guys. Like, this dude fought in Ishval. And I don't know, if they didn't get fucking murked by Fear King Bradley, maybe they could have been a little bit more prominent, but they die. Oh yeah, Martel is also important for Alphonse's development. Man, imagine having a person die inside of you. I bet that's somebody's fetish, but anyways. Lust. Yeah, we'll put a homunculus. I'd say she's about a middle tier for me. Lust is alright. She's definitely a lot more, like, prominent in the 2003 anime, but that's, like, this is for just Brotherhood in the manga, not 2003. Yeah, she's good for when she's around. Like, she has a lot of really good scenes. Like, her fight against Mustang. It's like, it's barely a fight because Mustang, like, annihilates her. But that's, like, one of the 3 best moments in this entire show. But it definitely feels like she accomplishes a good bit in the time she's around. Like, you can definitely feel she has an influence on the world at large. Because, like, she tries to kill Alphonse and Mustang, and, like, she gets rid of Barry and, what were these guys' names? Unit 48 or something? It's Unit something, the Slicer brothers. So she's definitely a very dangerous, powerful asset to the homunculi. Yeah, Lusty-chan is, good by me. Bretta. I'd say Bretta is probably my least favorite of Mustang's guys. I don't really dislike him. He's always just kind of been there for me. I definitely like more of the personalities and, like, the dialogue and, like, even the designs of pretty much all of his other subordinates. Bretta's always just kind of been the one that's like, yeah, he's Bretta. There he is. So don't dislike him. He's just like, he's fine. I had to look up this guy's name for a second. This is Denny. Sergeant Denny. He's, yeah, he's fine. I don't know if I'm just crazy. I feel like this guy does more in 2003. Whereas in Brotherhood in the manga, he's a little bit more of just kind of like a background character. But yeah, Denny is, he's okay. I really don't remember hardly anything this guy does. Like, I know he was, when they were trying to figure out what a Philosopher's Stone is, he was like one of their fucking, one of their lapdogs. And even, like, his partner, Maria, I'll just grab her and put her up here. Definitely feels like she does more. Like, I at least remembered her name. Yeah, Ross is kind of cool. I like the, sort of the political game she ends up getting tangled in. Because, you know, Envy disguises himself as her to kill Hughes, and then everybody's like, oh, reports are that da-da-da, Maria Ross killed Hughes. Even though, now that I think about it, there must have been info fed to, like, the higher-ups from the homunculi. And I like the thing she gets involved in with Mustang, where he makes the fucking, like, the fake, corpse and, like, switches out Ross for that to fake her death so she can get out of the country. And then when she comes back in the finale, it's like, hey, there's Maria Ross. It's like, alright, cool. Miles. I think Miles is a coolio dudio. Miles is kind of an interesting, like, reflection of Scar. He's sort of Scar's, like, mirror image. Because whereas Scar's like, burn down the system, the Emestrians must pay, blah blah blah. Miles is more like, well, hang on, man. Like, yeah, that shit was bad and it sucked, but like, what's getting revenge really gonna solve? Nothing. Just work in the system and maybe you can make something better, like, internally happen. So they have an interesting relationship. And I also like him as a part of the sort of Briggs philosophy of, like, this is Briggs. We are, like, we're gonna do whatever we want, and it's survival of the fittest up here. And although they obviously, like, listen to the commands of the rest of the military, at least until they start a fucking coup d'etat, otherwise it's like, Olivier she is the one in charge of that bitch. And she doesn't care that Miles is an Ishvalan whatsoever. Also, Miles' interactions with Kimberly are, like, really cool. Yeah, okay, I like this character a lot. It is my man, General Grumman. And I was thinking about this, like, before I started working on this tier list, but something that I really like about, like, Fullmetal Alchemist is the fact that not many of these characters are dumb, right? Like, they have their moments of being wacky and goofy or whatever, but really, none of these guys, like, or very few of them anyways, are dumb people. They all have, like, plans for how to deal with things, perspectives on, like, the situation. And Grumman is a character who actually has, like, quite a few layers to him, because he seems like he's just this weird, goofy, like, quirky kind of guy, but when you really stop and, like, talk to him, he's kind of a political mastermind. And although he's definitely a good guy, he's by no means, like, totally altruistic. He has his own intents and purposes for getting involved in the war. And it fucking works to his benefit. The man ends up the Fuhrer. And it's cool having a guy that's, like, high up in the military who's not evil. I remember the one part where he's talking to Mustang, and he's like, yeah, so at one point they asked me if I wanted to become immortal, and I was like, no, thank you, that's weird, and then they bumped me down to the fucking east. So yeah, Grumman's a cool dude. And while I see him, I'll put Gracia and Alicia up here. They don't really play, like, a big role in the story in the grand scheme of things, but, I mean, come on, who is the human being that says, you know who I can't stand? Fucking Alicia Hughes. Man, it's fucking sad whenever anybody interacts with these two, like, after Hughes is dead. And even Alphonse, like, in the epilogue, he goes to visit them, and that scene is, like, really sad. Now that I'm looking at it, I feel like this A tier is gonna be pretty populated. Let's see, who do we have? The Fuhrer's wife, Mrs. Bradley. I'm pretty sure this lady is never given a first name. Yeah, I mean, she's, like, she exists, most certainly. Her relationship with Bradley is interesting because of how little we really know about it. It's sort of implied that she was aware that he was a homunculus, but I don't think it's ever outright stated. I mean, she must have known he was a homunculus, because in the epilogue, Grumman is talking to her about Salim, and I don't think Grumman ever says the word homunculus, but there seems to be a mutual understanding that's what he is. Also, a scene that I really like is the one where, I think it was Bretta, her and Bretta are in that radio room, and Bradley comes back and Bretta is like, good news, Mrs. Bradley, your husband has been found alive. And she's just like, oh, thank God, and then Bretta leaves the room, and he's like, this is bad, dude. Like, yeah, Mrs. Bradley's alright. I like the role she plays in the politics of the final part of the story, but other than that, she's okay. Dr. Marco. I like Dr. Marco a lot. Just what a sad, like, sad existence. The guy spends his life making these Philosopher's Stones and, like, lives his life in hiding, and then he gets captured by the homunculi, and they're like, yeah, guess what? We turned all of your researchers into Philosopher's Stones, and Scar, like, fucks up his face, and just what a sad existence. Oh, and the fucking scene where Envy's got him, and he's like, yeah, I know how to create Philosopher's Stones, and I can destroy him. and he just one-shots Envy. That scene is fucking radical. And that's something that I fucking love about Fullmetal, is how you never really know who's gonna do what. Like, nobody would have ever guessed that Fu and Buccaneer would have been the first people to really get a hit on Bradley. And like, fucking Heinkel. Where's Heinkel at? There he is. You know, Heinkel is the one who functionally kills Kimberly. Just like random stuff, but it really, really works. Yeah, Dr. Marco, really sad character, but by the end of it, he's sort of made amends, and like, he helps save the fucking world, and also he gives Mustang his eyesight back, so that's good. Lanfan. Lanfan's alright. The shit she goes through is rough, dog. Like, she loses her arm. Actually, come to think of it, I don't think Dr. Knox is on this list. Yeah, Dr. Knox isn't on here. But she's okay. I actually like her grandfather a little bit more. Like, while I'm talking about him, I'll just put him up and say I like him about A tier. And Fu is a little bit higher. I'd say just because Fu, like, the stuff he does in the stories always left more of an impact on me. Especially the scene where he tries to kamikaze himself up on Wrath, and Wrath is just like, no. And then he gets impaled by Buccaneer, and that's the first good hit on Bradley. But Fu and Lanfan, both pretty good. I like them. Barry, the motherfucker chopper. I feel like I like Barry enough to put him in A tier. Barry is awesome. I do kind of wish he had stuck around longer. Like, Lust just annihilates that poor guy. But I think that would have been sort of interesting if just this serial killer bound to a suit of armor is like one of the people that's fighting against the homunculi. But sadly, that does not happen. But Barry's really fun for when he's around. I like having such a chaotic, crazy force in the group. Tricia Elric. Yeah, she's about a B. What do you even say about this woman? She died. She's basically the catalyst for the entire story. Her relationship with Hohenheim is pretty interesting. I like how she's seemingly the first person to, like, or the first person that he decided, alright, I'm gonna settle down. Even though I gotta go stop, my fucking doppelganger. I guess while I'm talking about it, I might as well put him up. Hohenheim is one of my favorite characters in this whole show. His backstory is super interesting. I like his relationship with, like, his kids and with Father. He has a fun personality, but also has these really sad, somber moments. Like the part where he's talking to Pride, and Pride is, like, talking mad shit about Alphonse. And he goes, "Don't you ever talk badly about my son," and catches him in the dome. What a great character. Like, the scene at the very end of, like, episode 63 where he dies, that is one of the saddest parts of the entire show. Like, that scene, that fucking gets me. Father Cornello. Father Corn. Yeah, he's okay. I think he's a really good first antagonist for the Elric brothers to deal with, but I guess in Brotherhood, they technically, like, the first guy they fight is Isaac, who's not on this list, incidentally. But he's okay. He does some cool stuff with his Philosopher's Stone. I like the part where he makes that fucking gun. But otherwise, he's fine. Like, he really is just a pawn in the homunculi scheme to try to make the Crest of Blood. The Gold-Toothed Doctor. I think this guy is pretty cool. I kind of want to put him in B tier. Yeah, I'll put him in B tier. I like the Gold-Toothed Doctor a lot. I like how Arakawa has this habit of, like, not really giving characters names. You know, there's, like, Scar's brother, fucking, like, Father is a character that has, like, 7 fucking names. Everybody calls that guy something different. And then there's just the Gold-Toothed Doctor. And he's a guy who, really only shows up in the flashbacks with Bradley. And you never expect him to show up again or be relevant, but then he pops back up, like, at the very end. And he's a major threat. And he's the guy who made King Bradley what he is. So, for a guy with no fucking name, he has a pretty impressive resume. Also, he ends up this horrible, like, Dark Souls blob of a creature. Like, after Mustang human transmutates him. Fucking gold tooth looking ass. Heinkel. Heinkel is definitely my favorite of the Chimera. Because he really is the one that does the most. The scenes with him and Alphonse, like when Pride and, fucking Kimberly are about to get him, and he gives that speech, like that entire sequence is one of the best parts of the show. Where he's like, I get it. You're morally opposed to the idea of using the stone for your own purposes. But think about it like this. If you don't use the stone, we're all fucked. Like, there's nothing we can do about them. They're a source of energy now. And as long as you recognize the idea that they are still people in some sense, then it's fine to use the stone. And that scene is just that scene is so good, dude! And also he lands basically the killing blow on Kimberly. Like, Pride is the one who kills him, but, you know, he was dead. He was a dead man. So that's not bad for some random, like, what you would expect to be just some jobber enemy who turns into an ally, who turns into the guy that kills Kimberly. I haven't put a homunculus on here in a bit. Gluttony. Yeah, I'd say I like Gluttony about as much as Lust. Gluttony is maybe a little bit more interesting because he's a failed attempt at making a portal of truth, and so he's just this horrible abomination that fucking sucks everything into an alternate dimension. And even though he's basically just a big dumb fat bruiser, it's always fun to have Gluttony on screen. Sig Curtis. Yeah, he's okay. Sega's interactions with Armstrong are fucking hilarious. Like, he doesn't really do a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, except for, like, he helps to fight Sloth, but still a fun, pretty memorable guy. The scene of, like, how him and Izumi met is really funny. She's like, oh no, I dropped my bear. And on that same note, I'll put Izumi up here as well. Fullmetal Alchemist has a lot of these tough, bad bitches that are really, really appealing. Izumi's awesome, plays a very important role as one of the 5 sacrifices, who are ironically the only fucking people who don't get sacrificed. And the stuff she has going on with the baby that she tried to bring back, and how, like, Alphonse and Ed are basically, like, kind of her adopted children at that point. Like, she's basically their stepmom. Oh, and the scene where she shows up to fight, like, Sloth and all them, where she's all, normally I'd say I'm a housewife, but today, I am an alchemist. That scene is awesome. Izumi's good. You get an A from me, Izumi Curtis. Havoc? Yeah, Havoc's a cool guy. Definitely like him a little more than Breda. This guy's a Chad, dude. He was dating a fucking homunculus. But yeah, really fun personality, and it really sucks to see this guy in a wheelchair and not able to do, like, military stuff and really work for Mustang. But he ends up helping out a lot in the end for, like, supplying everybody with weapons and stuff. I don't know how a general store has munitions, but, you know, whatever. But he gets his legs fixed by the end of it, so it's all good. Darrius. He's okay. Actually, while I'm at it, I might as well put these other homunculi, or not homunculi, these chimera around C tier. Actually, I like this guy about a B tier. Him and Zampano, they make out pretty good. I mean, they're going on a fucking journey with Alphonse. They trust their animal instinct. Yeah, they're all fine. I like these two a little bit more than Darrius, but Heinkel's definitely the best of them. Yoki. Yoki is, he's a radical guy. I think I want to put him in A tier, actually. But yeah, Yoki's a funny dude. I like how he ends up getting tangled up in the weirdest crew ever of Scar and May and, like, Dr. Marco. Just what a weird ensemble, but yeah, Yoki's fun to have around. I like the part where he hits Pride and he fucking goes, yeah, how do you like that? I landed a shot on the strongest homunculus. But the stuff that happens with his story, like, in the manga, and in 2003, there's that whole little arc about how he's, like, running this mining operation and Ed tricks him by turning a bunch of metal into gold and, like, buying the town. And that episode is skipped over in Brotherhood, but then he becomes relevant again, and it's important, and they have to describe what happens in, like, this flashback. So that's kind of just a weird thing they decided to skip over. I don't know why they did that. But Yoki's, he's a cool guy. He's good by me. Scar's brother. Scar's brother is interesting, because he's unironically one of the most important fucking characters in the entire show. Like, he comes out, he's one of the first people who figured out that there was a transmutation circle, and how there is an inhibiting component on the Earth that was, like, preventing alchemists from using their full power and all. And he studied Xingyi's alchemy and just, like, and then the poor guy gets booped by Kimberly. This guy has, like, multiple levels of no name, because Scar is not even Scar's actual name, but this guy is referred to as Scar's brother. That would be like if Alphonse, like, everybody referred to him as just Fullmetal's brother. General Raven. Yeah, this guy is just, he's kind of evil. That part when Olivier kills him is really cool. They fucking bury him in cement. I love Fort Briggs. What a good place. Oh, and the scene where Mustang is talking to him and he makes the joke about how, yeah, I heard that Bradley is a homunculus, like, haha, XD. And Raven brings him into the room with all the generals and Bradley, and he's like, Mustang was just telling me this funny joke about how Bradley is a homunculus. Like, that's a really good scene. Yeah, Raven's evil. I'm glad he got buried in concrete. What a fucker. Pinocchio Rockabelle. Yeah, I like Pinocchio. I actually like her more than her granddaughter. Like, Pinocchio's good. I like her relationships with, you know, the Elric brothers and with Hohenheim especially. Like, the scene where she finds Hohenheim and she's like, oh, I'm glad you finally died. That's like a weird way of putting it, but I'm pretty sure she didn't know he was immortal, but she must have known something was up. While on the subject of her granddaughter, okay, don't kill me for this one, but I've never really liked Winry. I don't know, her personality just doesn't mesh with me. I've really just never liked the whole, oh, you're an idiot, I'm gonna bop you on the head, like those types. But I don't know, she's cute with Ed, like, they're alright, just doesn't, her personality just doesn't jive with me. There's a lot of characters left I really like. Kimberly. Kimberly is awesome. Kimberly's really cool. I really like his philosophy of, like, morality is decided by who wins. You know, if the homunculi win, then they are the ones who are right. Like, fight for what you believe in. Don't be, like, a slimy, flip-floppy motherfucker. Oh, and the part where, he comes back, like, when he's in Pride and he shows up and he's all, yo, Pride, you're being a sleaze. I don't like this. Like, you're being a fucking loser. That scene is really fucking good. And although he's a psychopathic, crazy, bloodlusted murderer, he's the kind of guy you can still sit down with and, like, have a cup of tea and discuss philosophy. Which I think is kind of interesting. So Kimberly's cool dude. One of my favorite villains from the show, for sure. Scar's Master. Yeah, this guy's, like, he's okay. This guy actually helps, like, save the world, because he's one of the people that activates the reverse transmutation circle. So good on him. I also like his scenes with Scar when, you know, similar to Miles, like, whereas Scar is all, oh, burn down the mistress, they gotta go. This guy is more like, why? What's the point? You're just gonna make more people die. So that's cool, but otherwise not a lot to say about this guy. Alphonse Elric. I have always kind of preferred Al over Ed. I still like Ed, but I don't know, something about Al I think has always just kind of meshed with me better. I just like his more soft, humble, like, down-to-earth kind of personality more. His attachment to cats, like... And I think I've just been always more invested in Alphonse than Ed. Because, like, Ed, you know, he lost his arm and his leg. Like, he can function, but this fucker is a suit of metal. You know, the poor guy can't eat, he can't sleep. And, you know, if you ask me which of the brothers would you rather hang out with, Alphonse or Ed, I would say, oh, dude, give me Alphonse. We got a few more Mustangs, boys. Sergeant Fury. Fury's okay. I like him a little bit more than Bretta. Poor Bretta is just, like, the metric for what I use to judge Mustang's men. And on that same note, Hughes, MVP. Actually, I think we're gonna bump down his family. Hughes is taking their spot. Like, these guys are fine, they're fine. I wouldn't say they're characters I like, but they're, you know. Hughes is great. I'm gonna give the not at all controversial opinion of saying that, like, the stuff with Hughes is handled better in the manga and in 2003, just because you have more time to spend with him. I think Hughes gets killed in Brotherhood in, like, what, episode 8? So his passing does come by a little quick, but similar to Grumman, I like the fact that he's, like, this goofy dude who just really loves his family, but he's also, like, really smart guy. He was the first of the main cast to figure out, okay, wait a minute, why are there fucking crests of blood arranged in a circle? Well, I didn't know they were crests of blood, but, like, their major incidents are happening in a fucking circle around this nation. And you do kind of feel Hughes' influence throughout the entire rest of the series. Like, there's flashbacks of him and Ishval, and characters mention Hughes all the time, like his family is obviously still around. Oh, and there's that fucking part where Envy turns into Hughes to try to sneak up on Mustang. That shit that was crooked, like, Envy, that was fucked up, bro. But Hughes is very good, very good. Alex Louise Armstrong. A tier Roni. Man, what a cool, like, funny, but also pretty sad character. Armstrong is like a beautiful ray of sunshine anytime he's on screen. His fighting style is really cool. His history in the Ishvalan War is, like, really interesting because he was discharged because he's, like, you know, he's a pacifist at heart. And whenever Armstrong's on screen, it's like, hell yeah, Armstrong. Buccaneer. I like Buccaneer, but I wouldn't say he's one of my favorites, so I'll put him in B. Buccaneer's cool, another great Briggs character. And god, dude, the fucking scenes, like, when he's dealing with Bradley especially, those scenes are awesome! Like, when he gets his automail, his chainsaw thing ripped off, and he gets back up and he goes, you're not gonna die a more manly death than me! And he's a fucking Chad. He lands the first good hit on Bradley. You know what, actually, I will bump this guy up to A. Like, the moments that he does have are so fucking cool that I think I will put him up there, actually. Sheshka. Sheshka is cute. I like Sheshka. Yeah, this name's hard to pronounce. Sheshka is alright for, like, when she's around. Yeah, Sheshka's, she's pretty good. She doesn't really do a whole lot, but, you know, whenever she's on screen, I'm like, hey, there's Sheshka. Oh, Mustang. Mustang! S tier. Love Mustang. Mustang is fucking radical, definitely in my top 5 characters from this show. Just what a cool, like, funny, smart, interesting guy. Arakawa is very talented at making people that feel like people and not just characters. Because like I said a bit ago, like, pretty much all of these characters are smart people. Like, Mustang is a political, military, like, alchemical genius, basically. And he really helps to lend to the political air that, like, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood has. And that's, like, one of my favorite aspects of the whole show, is the political back and forth of it all. And the mystery solving, and the military angle, and the where everybody is at and what they're doing. And to me, following Mustang's, like, journey through this fucking snake pit of a government that's one of the most engrossing things about the whole show. And Mustang just has so many good fucking fights, like the one against Envy, the one against Lust. And whenever Mustang gets a chance to just whoop some ass, that stuff, like, that's awesome. So Mustang, really good. S tier for sure. Alright, we're getting there, bit by bit. Rose. She is okay. I really don't have much to say about her. May. Oh, man. I was considering putting her in B, but I really, I'd say I like her about as much as the rest of these guys. I don't hate her. I know May is not the world's most popular character, but I don't know. She's never really annoyed me that much, but never clicked with me either. Both of the women that the Elric brothers, like, end up with are both characters that I'm not super crazy about. I guess May has the benefit of, like, I just think her whole thing with the Shingis, the alchemy is a little bit more interesting. But otherwise, she's fine. I like the part in the end where Ed and Al are talking, and Ed is like, "So you got pretty friendly with the little princess there." Does Al get horny? Like, when he's in the suit, does he feel the urge to jerk off? Like, he obviously can't, but I don't know. In the comments, can Alphonse Elric get horny? Now here's a bigger question: does Olivier make me horny? Yes. Olivier's great. What a bad bitch. Look at those fucking lips, dog. Yeah, Olivier's awesome. What a tough fucking character. All the stuff with her and the political goings-on, like, between Briggs and Central is really interesting. I like the part where she physically fights her brother over inheritance of, like, the fucking Armstrong family. Yeah, Olivier, really good. I would say she's probably my favorite female character of the show. Yeah, she definitely is, but Olivier's awesome. Another homunculus, Sloth. Slothy man. Yeah, he's okay. Probably the least interesting of the homunculi, but it's kind of on purpose because Sloth is just made to be like a workhorse. Actually, the thing about how he's the fastest homunculus is really cool. I like the idea that the big, hulking, like, the guy whose existence is laziness is also the fastest. But otherwise, you know, he's okay. Chris Mustang. I like Chris Mustang a lot. Like, the fact that she's Mustang's adoptive mother, like, that on its own is cool. But she also runs a bar full of hot, like, waitresses or bartenders or whatever. And the relationship she has with Mustang is really cool. It feels pretty realistic. Like, you know, they take jabs at each other. They poke fun at one another. I like the line where, Mustang is asking about all their employees, and she's like, yeah, I sent them on vacation, where they're not thinking about you. That lady blows up her business just to help Mustang win. I mean, I guess the alternative was die. But yeah, Chris Mustang is cool. Slicer Brothers. Yeah, they're okay. I like the fact that there's two of them. Although I question the logic of why you would make, like, one just the head and the entire rest of the body is the second brother. Like, what's the first brother even accomplishing, really? I don't know, I think it would have made more sense if one of them is, like, the torso and up and the other one is just the legs. Because then they would actually have to coordinate, but they're fine. They're mostly just an enemy for Ed to beat up. But their existence is neat, so I'll give them that. Scar. Scar is a wonderful anti-hero. Just what a good character arc. Like, going from nearly getting killed and having, like, your entire country decimated, to seeking revenge on the people who did it, to saving the very country that did all that shit. And the show never goes out of its way to be like, oh, look at Scar, he's redeemed, like, all the past is erased. Because he still is a person who has done horrible things and killed people. But he also saves so many more. And he just makes such a cool change. Like, when he's fighting Bradley and he does transmutation, that's such a good, like, oh shit kind of moment. So Scar's rad. One of my favorites, for sure. Nina and Alexander. Yeah, they're about a beat. You know, they're good. How can you not, like, at least say, yeah, they're fine? Like, I want to meet the guy who's, like, my least favorite Fullmetal Alchemist character is that fucking dog. They're okay. Sucks what happens to him. Big brother. Edward. We're getting there. Panina. I don't know about you, dog, but Panina pretty cute. Like, while I'm at it, I'll also put this guy, this guy's name is Garfield. I want to say his name is Garfield, but it's Garfield. They're alright. I think it's funny that out of all the people, all the fucking people on this list, like, two of the people that end up in the final shot are Panina and Garfield. But Panina's alright. She kind of, this is like a weird comparison, but she reminds me of Yuffie from Final Fantasy VII. Like, energetic, thief, tomboy. She definitely emanates Yuffie energy. And that's probably why I like her. And then Garfield's just like, does this guy even talk? I'm pretty sure this guy never says anything. Hawkeye. Yeah, I'd say, yeah, she's about an A. Hawkeye's really good. I like her role in the story a lot. How she ends up so close to King Bradley. And she has a lot of good moments. Like the part where she thinks Mustang is dead, like Lust killed her. And she fucking goes, you bitch! And just unloads on her. But yeah, she's good. Like, if for whatever reason I'm not allowed to count Hughes, she's my favorite of Mustang's, like, entourage. And speaking of Mustang's entourage, Fallman. I like Fallman. For whatever reason, I feel like he's a lot more active than Bretta or Fury. Like, he shows up in Briggs, and he's one of the people that's holding the line against Bradley. Oh man, we got some boys left. This is some front-loaded shit. This Ling. This S tier ended up more populated than I expected. Ling's awesome. Like, I think something that really helped me to like Ling is I expected to not like him. Because he shows up, he's just this goofy dude. It seems like he's gonna be comic relief. But then in the first fight he has, he cuts Gluttony's skull off and puts grenades in him. And captures a homunculus. And I respect the fucking hustle of this guy wanting to be Emperor of Xing. And that's a character trait I always really, really like, are people that are super driven by a goal. And although he is a goofy, silly kind of dude, like, when it's time to be serious, he's one of the most serious people in the whole cast. And that would be good enough. But then, he's also host to my actual favorite character, Greed. Greed is just, dude, like, I liked him when he first appeared, and then in the episode, like, where they first meet Father, and Ling fuses with a homunculus, and he's like, it's me, Greed. I was like, whoa. And, like, what a perfect character, like, relationship and duo to have, of Ling and Greed. One day I'll probably end up making a video about Greed, but I will say, for me, the saddest part of the entire show is when Greed dies. Like, it's so fucking cheesy, the way he's all, you know, the thing I really wanted was friends. Like, it's the cheesiest shit, but it hits me right in my heart for some reason. Oh, man. But Greed's awesome, he's my favorite character. Him and Ling are just the best fucking duo. How do I have 4 homunculi left? Okay, homunculi power hour. Envy. Love Envy. What a great antagonist. What an evil little shitter. And Envy's just great. Like, whenever Envy is on screen, there's just like a certain evil delight to everything. And Envy does a lot. He's like, other than Wrath, I would say he's probably the homunculus that's had the biggest impact on just the story in the world. Like, he starts the Ishvalan War, he kills Maze Hughes, he's the one who, like, indirectly ended up getting Winry's parents killed because, you know, Scar. He's the one who busted Kimberly out of jail. And such a good evil fucker. Envy's awesome. Now, somebody who I don't like as much is Pride. Oh, man. Pride, I think, is the only character in this show that actively annoys me. And it mostly comes down to the fact that it's like, he's more reductive to the homunculi's goal than anything. Like, you know, he kills his brother, Gluttony. He kills Kimberly. I mean, Kimberly was dead anyways, basically, but... And the thing I hate, this is one character trope that I really don't like, is the child character who's actually like hundreds of years old that still acts like a child. That shit drives me crazy. And I don't know why. That's a character, like, gimmick, I guess, that authors have a really hard time resisting. And although Pride, like, mostly acts like the evil, ancient entity that he is, he does, like, at the very end, he's still like, oh, Bradley was like my daddy, even though he's, like, what, fucking 9 or 10 times older than Bradley? So it's just, I don't know, you figured you'd get past that after a certain point. So Pride, probably the only Fullmetal Alchemist character I don't like. Like, I unironically like Pride less than Tucker. Alright, final 3. Edward Elric. I like Ed, but not as much as Alphonse. Ed's cool. He works well as the protagonist of the story, but he's never really been a character I've been super, like, attached to or connected with. I definitely do like him, but, you know, not as much as any of these characters up in S tier. Final 2, Bradley. Bradley, more like Chadley. Ayo. Bradley's awesome. What a scary fucking dude. Like, he really does have one of just the most menacing auras. And anytime Bradley is just on screen or gets to fight, it's like, oh shit, it's Bradley. But Bradley's awesome, really interesting guy. His backstory is cool. I like a lot of his philosophies when it comes to things. And he's Führer King Bradley. What an awesome man. And finally, so for those of you who don't know, my username, Fither, actually comes from Father. Because I used to be friends with this guy who hated Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood for no real constructive reason other than it's not 2003 and that's a show I'm nostalgic for. Like, he would come up with all these flimsy reasons, but you could tell, like, the root issue he had was it was different from the show he grew up with. And so to fuck with him, I would always set my, my Skype and my Steam to stuff to Father, and I would put a picture of Father as my profile picture. Because he had a special dislike of Father that he never really fully explained very well. But one day I decided I would go through, like, the letters of the alphabet and replace Father with the next vowel going down. So, like, one day it would be Father, and then it would be Feather, and then it would be Fither. And I was on Fither, and I was like, huh, I actually really like the sound of this. Fither. Has sort of a nice ring to it. And I've been using that as my username ever since. So, now that the story is out of the way, I love Father. I think he is a very good antagonist. Really interesting character. I like how he starts off as just this little ball of energy and knowledge. And what starts out as being, I want to get out of this flask, ultimately ends up becoming, I want to be just this supreme being. And I just really like his story and his evolution of going from, like, this lowly life form to this thing who thinks he's just so above humans. So I like Father a lot. This S tier is pretty populated. Like, I feel like I could do a better job dividing the characters, but I don't want to make a whole nother, like, tier. I think this is good as it is. Let me just double check to make sure I still agree with myself. Yeah, I'd say so. This is pretty good. So yeah, this is my sick, radical Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood tier list. Thank you all so much for watching. Next time I'll have to do that Code Geass one. That's one I'm really looking forward to doing. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.